Space. The final frontier. Thank you. Warframe is a game where you play some kind of ancient ninja warriors that woke up after a nap that lasted a couple hundred years and instantly started going around shooting and slashing up rejects from a Doctor Who Christmas special. The game takes place in an ever-evolving sci-fi world and is built around cooperative gameplay, as the game allows you to do missions and shit with other people so you can grind, and then you can grind some more. Or you can just buy stuff with real money, but let's get real, no one's gonna do that, right? As said before, you're some kind of weird ethereal ninja psycho dude that can take control of biomechanical suits called Warframes, and they all have their own special abilities and stats and shit. At the beginning of the game, you're prompted to pick one of the 3 starting Warframes, with all varying abilities and stats, but they all handle much the same, that they're some kind of psychedelic parkour god. At a first glance, this game is slightly more than completely fucking overwhelming. The first time I played it and loaded it up, I had very little clue what I was doing and what was happening, and if I was doing anything correctly. This was the same the second time I played, and the third, and the fourth. You can see what I'm getting at here. The gameplay can only be described as one confusing clusterfuck of extreme parkour, slash 'em up, shoot 'em up, and some Watch Dogs level quick time events when you hack something. This game is designed to make you feel like a badass, and it certainly does a good job of letting you attempt to do that. I found it quite difficult at first to pull off any really interesting stunts or do anything really that spectacular, but with a bit of playtime I reckon you get a better feel for the controls and how your Warframe handles. You have 3 weapons at your disposal: your primary weapon, your secondary weapon, and your melee weapon, which can be used via hotkey without having to be specifically equipped. These weapons are all upgradable and changeable via modifications and shit, but the modifications are part of what made this game seem really confusing and a little overwhelming. The game is also in reality designed for multiplayer and party-based gameplay, which is something that appealed a little less to me. I just kinda wanted to go out on my own and do some badass shit, and I certainly didn't want to play with randoms. At any case, however, you can still do all the stuff on your own, but I guess there's just a little disadvantage to it. I guess my main problem is that I have no friends. God, I'm fucking lonely. This game doesn't have a free roam option or any sort of blatant, look at me, I'm an open world game, give me all your money aspect, and while many people might view that as a bad thing, I think that it works in Warframe's favour. It certainly doesn't give me a reason to hate the game or its developers. Oh wait, never mind, I hate this game now. One of my big issues with this game is that it's locked to third person, which for a game that involves a little shoot 'em up action is something that I particularly fucking loathe. However, a lot of the stuff you do to vaporize your enemies involves other stuff, like melee and your other Warframe abilities, which I guess makes the game not a shooter as much. It's one of those games that gives you the option of stealth when that option is never the most enjoyable route. It's a lot more fun to zip around and absolutely fuck shit up than to sneak around like a little bitch and slowly stealth kill all the enemies one by one. This game is at its best when you're zooming around the map like a tornado on steroids and just absolutely fucking the living shit out of anything that stands in your way. Crouching around and sneaking up behind people just so you can press E and insta-kill them, but no, it's stealthy, was pretty deathly boring, as it is in a lot of games. The interface in this game is a little difficult to wrap your head around at first, in particular the weapon and Warframe modding section. When you first get access to all the mods and whatnot, you're thrust into a drag and drop screen thingy with no real explanation of how it all works, not to mention the fact that a lot of the mods are very specialized and you don't know what's really good and what's fucking garbage. I was also torn on whether to play this game on a controller or a keyboard. I feel like this is a real standoff point for this game, as I feel perhaps the mobility and parkour and stuff would be better on a controller, but the shooting and precise attacks and abilities are definitely better on a keyboard. This game looks pretty fucking nice, to be honest. The environments are nice and fleshed out and the settings of the world are fitting. I would have preferred, however, a bit more visual storytelling in the environments, and less of the narrators chewing my ear off telling me everything that's happening. The soundtrack is also pretty damn good and well orchestrated, and does the setting and genre justice. The actual story itself is good enough, I reckon, but I'm sure that it becomes slowly less prevalent, certainly when you start to hit the grindier parts of the game. This one is pretty fucking obvious. The game is free to play, which is probably the thing that perplexes me the most about this game. This game isn't your average free to play game in the sense that it's an MMORPG, mobile clone, or just poorly made. This game is pretty close to a AAA standard looking title with no plethora of locked out gameplay content. Obviously, there are plenty of microtransactions available, as well as plenty of cosmetic purchases available because of course Digital Extremes wouldn't miss out on the old predatory tactics in order to make a quick buck or two. This game does however have plenty of grind potential, meaning that people who generally have no money or are too stubborn to spend any have the option to unlock pretty much everything without having to pay a single cent. However, not everyone is as strong-willed as that. When the game offers you the chance to just buy the currency rather than work for it, it's a pretty obvious choice for a lot of people. But it's a free-to-play game, so what do you really expect? This is the way that a lot of games are going these days. Free-to-play games are more profitable in some sense than many outright bought games are. I can say to Digital Extreme's credit though that they haven't charged us $60 for this and then filled the game with microtransactions or god forbid loot boxes, unlike some other developers. Yeah, Blizzard are just fucking angels, aren't they? If there is another title that I could compare this to in some aspects, it would probably be Monster Hunter, purely for the brick wall of a learning curve and the emphasis on party-based gameplay. However, I feel that Monster Hunter titles generally do a much better job of having more gratifying single-player content, as well as having lots of fun multiplayer stuff. Obviously, you could attribute the actual gameplay and style to something more like the Destiny series, but in my books that's just a bit of a slap in the face to Warframe. Other than the game being a little difficult to get into, this game does have another really big problem. Something that really ruins the fun and the promise of this title. No whoopers. None at all. Why? I just don't understand why this is still happening. Current year. No whoopers. Are you fucking kidding me? This game has such rich and deep environments, but they couldn't put a single fucking whooper among any of them? Can't have a whooper as your companion when you go on your hacky slash shooty missions? Obviously this lack of whoopers has pretty much killed any further interest I had in this game, and I just don't know if any further gameplay and grind is worth it. The game does a good job of making you feel like a badass and pull off some insane shit, and is also potentially 100% free, but there's no whoopers in it, so it's fucking garbage. Digital Extremes, I have a proposition for you. You're always looking for ways to earn more money, right? Well, I have a new idea. Warframe. Yeah, you know you wanna.